G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here again with another Pathfinder Kingmaker video. Today I have the top 20 options that you may want to change in the game. So Pathfinder Kingmaker has a lot of options that you can change from to customize the game experience. Some are obvious in what they do, others not so much. So here are the top 20 suggestions I consider changing. First of all, I want to admit that the first two options I am recommending are mostly to get this total up to 20, because 20 sounds better than the top 18. But having been a developer, I can tell you that any information that you can get about how a game is running firsthand is vital in helping to improve the game and reduce bugs and all that sort of stuff. So the first two options that I recommend you turn on are allow sending the game statistics and allow sending the saved games. Having said that, I also recommend that you review the terms and conditions of the game and be sure that you're happy with what they're going to do with any data that they receive from you before you turn those options on. So please review that first and then consider turning those options on. Out of the rest of the stuff then, the 18 that I really recommend, the one that probably is skipped a lot is this very next one here. AI doesn't use expendable spells. So like a lot of the text in the game, this option is poorly worded because it's a negative statement rather than a positive, and this means sometimes you're not going to change it because you're thinking it is already set correctly. For example, you might think that if you unchecked this, it would change the text to say AI does use expendable spells or similar. Because it's a negative and you've checked it, it can sometimes be confusing. So what it's basically saying is, with this turned on, the AI will not cast any spells that aren't cantrips, because every other spell is expendable. They only get a certain number of them per day, per rest. So if you turn this off, what it will do is it will allow the AI to, in certain circumstances, use actual spells rather than cantrips. If you want to have full control over your party members, then definitely leave it turned on and you can do that. But with this turned off, things like clerics will actually heal other party members because they will be able to use a healing spell. As I said, if you want that more fine-grained control, then either leave this on or turn the AI off completely. You can do that on the right-hand side of the character portraits. There's an option there to turn that off, and that way the characters will do nothing unless you tell them to. Okay, so that's the first change. You may also need to reset this option every time you restart the campaign. You start again from scratch, because it doesn't seem to save this in the game itself. It seems to save it in the save game. So if you do use this ability, just check it after. If you do restart a game, just check it and make sure it's what you expect it to be. So the next group of settings that I would recommend you have a look at is under the Autopause. So there's a lot of pauses that can happen automatically that can be very useful. These are the ones that I really recommend. So pause when a hidden object is detected. This is useful because if you don't turn this on, you may just hear a little ping. Occasionally, if you've got the voice acting turned on, you'll hear one of the characters say something, and it means they've found a hidden object. But if you're not 100% focused, or if it happens in the middle of combat, for example, then you may not pick up on it that it was there. And some of the hidden objects can be quite small. So I find that pause really helps. Pause at the end of each round can be useful, particularly if you want to queue up the actions that each of your party members are going to take in the next round. I don't use it all the time myself, so I tend to turn this one on and off a little bit. It depends. But at the moment I'm not using it, but it could be useful to you, so I've included it. Then the next one that I definitely change is pause when ally is down. This covers not just when they get killed or whatever, but it also means when they get like knocked down from, say, a knockdown attack, things like that. So I turn that one on. I don't bother about when an enemy is down. When a new enemy appears, I definitely turn that one on, because you often have enemies that appear out of the fog of war. So you've got the fog of war around you where you can't see beyond that area. And in combat, as your party members move around to attack other opponents, sometimes a new opponent that was outside that visual range will appear. Or the opponent may have been stealthed or invisible or whatever. And I like to turn this on so that as soon as they appear, the game pauses and I can take stock and say, okay, there was another opponent here, and I can decide what I'm going to do about it. I also then pause when a party member has low HP. Gives me a chance to recognize I may have been focusing on what one party member is doing and not another. This allows me to say, okay, this person has been taking more damage than I expected. I've got to do something about that. Pause when an enemy is spotted is similar to pause when a new enemy appears. So I turn that one on as well, but this one also seems to cover you when you're not yet in combat. So I turn that one on as well to make sure that if we're just walking through an area, a dungeon or whatever, and a new opponent appears, I want to know about it straight away. I don't want to have to wait. So that one is good. Pause when a weapon is ineffective is vital. This one is very important, because while there is a text prompt in the combat window, and sometimes even on the screen a visual prompt saying weapon is ineffective, and the characters themselves, if you've got the voice acting turned on, may say something along the lines of my weapon is not effective, if the game actually pauses when it happens, it's easier for you to recognize and deal with it. Then I also pause when an ally is unconscious or dead. That is useful as well. Pause when the party attacked is not as useful, and I don't recommend that one. It's not included in my 20. Mostly because it's covered by when a new enemy appears or when the enemy is spotted. If you didn't have those two turned on, you could put this one on and it would be covered when the opponents actually start to attack you. But if you turn that on as well, it'll pause when they appear, and then, a fraction of a second later when they attack, you'll unpause and then it'll just pause again. So those are my recommendations there. The other changes that we have to make then are under the difficulty, and we've got to save that. And I think these are changes that people may not notice as much, because you might not think always to scroll down. And it's down here in the party information and enemy information sections. Now, this stuff is pure window dressing. You don't need it. The default settings work okay, so that when you select a given party member, you can see all of this information about them. But I actually like to see it all the time during combat. So I change the show party HP to always, which shows you a little arc of their health. You can turn on this option to say the numbers, but the numbers get confusing. It gets too much information, because you're also seeing numbers of the amount of damage done when you hit. And so sometimes you can lose that information. So I don't recommend that one. Showing the party members' actions and their attack intentions, their spellcasting intentions, and the cooldown timers. I find all of those are helpful to give you a lot of information in combat about what each of your party members are doing. And seeing it all the time, it does put a lot of information on the screen, but it's very helpful, I find. The other group then is the enemy information, and I basically do a similar thing here. I I don't bother showing the names, but I turn on their HP, which again is a little arc, a little health bar, and I look at their actions, their intentions, and their cooldown timers as well. Consider it cheating if you want to see all that information, but it just helps me to plan what I'm doing, and I can see that, oh, this particular enemy that's attacking this particular opponent is probably going to get their attack in before my opponent, so what can I do? Can I have someone else attack, or should I get, possibly get ready to help heal this character if things go bad? All of that sort of information. So what I might just do now is we'll switch over to some gameplay where we'll see a little bit of combat, and you'll see where this party and enemy information in combat looks like when it's turned on. So let's just do that now. So here we are, we've just been attacked in camp, and we can see here that for each of my party members that are conscious anyway, or have most of these guys, you can see the little spell that they're going to cast. That's because I have a predefined spell set up, and we can see their hit points are all at full because they've been resting. By the way, the AI, if you want to turn it off, is over here, so you can just click that and the little brain disappears. That means that the AI is not going to be turned on, and you're going to have to control every single thing that these characters do, which means if they've been attacking an opponent in combat and that opponent dies, they will not automatically go and attack another opponent until you tell them to. So be aware of that as well. It doesn't just cover things like spells. So we can see, though, that nothing is really set up in our intentions yet. So if I now click over here,
this should do it,
and unpause the game, you can see this green line indicates that Scion is moving to attack this opponent, and we can see that the bandit is going to be performing an attack because they've got the little crossed swords there. We are going to be using our Touch of Fatigue spell, and we're going to be using that in 1.4 seconds, and the bandit will be attacking in 3.1 seconds. So as we go forward, we cast our spell and attack. We are now 4.1 seconds before we're going to do our next action. The bandit has attacked. We can see that the bandit has taken some damage. These 5 and 4 here are the damage values that we just did to the bandit. In fact, Lindsay did the 4 points of damage with the crossbow hit, and the 5 points of damage was us with our rapier. So yeah, you're getting some more information about what the opponents are doing, and if we hover over the bandit here, we can see who they're attacking. We can see that line, so they're attacking Hawkeye here, and we can see they're just making a standard attack, and they're going to next attack in 2 seconds. Hawkeye is in the process of casting his spell, so he's cast that and killed the opponent. So yeah, that's the sort of information you're able to get with some of those options. Gives you a lot of information about what each of your characters are doing at a really quick glance. So even if the AI is turned on, you've got some idea. You don't just notice, oh look, they're pointing in this direction, does that mean that they're shooting at something over here? Well, no, they're not. They are preparing to attack. At the moment, Arcane is actually not attacking anything yet. Oh, no, sorry, I'm incorrect. There's the arc coming there. They're attacking this bandit back here. So, yes, you're getting a lot of information about what each of you and your opponents are actually doing. So we can even see the little red line that shows that bandit is attacking Lindsay here. It is a lot of information sometimes, and you can get all of this information if you don't turn it on the way I've got it. You only see this information when you've got things paused like this. When I unpause, you'll notice the information is all still there. And I find that useful to see all the time. I don't want to have to always just be continually pausing to see what all of my characters and what all of my opponents are doing. So anyway, that is the top 20 options that I recommend that you change in Pathfinder Kingmaker. Hope you found this useful, guys. Please like and share this video, add any comments that you might think are other options that are useful for people, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.